Jewish Book Review, The Matzah Ball by Jean Meltzer. She began at the closest department store. Forcing herself to ignore the many aisles of Christmas trees and ornaments, she hunted down the Hanukkah section, which was one sad little shelf display. Unless she was planning to write a book about Christmas envy, she'd have to keep how many times have I walked into a store like Target or Walmart and been assaulted with everything Christmas related? Meanwhile, back at the ranch, there's like 2 teeny tiny little shelves, or maybe an end cap of Hanukkah stuff, if we're lucky. Toby always kept a stockpile of matzah in her apartment, not just because, like most Jewish homes, there was always some left over from Passover, but also because, like most folks of her generation, Toby had seen her fair share of war and tragedy, and matzah was the food for duress. Matzah was like the Jewish people this way, hardy and resilient. It could be kept for years, hidden away in a pantry, pulled out during times of economic uncertainty, or as a prescriptive for indigestion. Matzah was always there for you. I remember watching a show called Doomsday Preppers, and in one episode, there was an Orthodox Jewish guy who had several years' worth of boxes of matzah in his stockpile. Matzah will outlast us all, probably. Or Toby Greenberg would live free and fearless until the day God himself decided to take her, and even then, Jacob was certain she would put up a fight. Yeah, that's how everybody should, and in the process makes the world a darker place. Or we can be the type of person who spreads light. Better to be the shamash, one candle that lights all the others and brightens an otherwise dark world. I think that is the ultimate message of Hanukkah, about lighting darkness and hope amidst uncertainty. Chronic illness was not a moral failing, though some people has treated his mother like she was guilty of a crime. If only she would exercise more, eat better. She just needs to think positively, change her inner dialogue, meditate. Just like someone always had a friend who had been cured by seeing this one doctor. Everyone was always so quick to offer advice. Nobody just came over and did the laundry. Yeah, I think that one is... How long would it last? Rachel had no way of knowing. Chronic fatigue syndrome was the great decider. It had decided her career, where she traveled on vacation, with whom she could be intimate. It had influenced her relationships, stolen away friendships, and forced her to live in constant uncertainty, robbing her of any practical ability to plan for the future. It had deprived her of normal, the privilege of having a choice. That one's definitely all about how chronic illness, mental or physical, can be the great decider and decide huge things like that. Flip. Yes, Rachel Rubenstein Goldblatt, his first love, the girl who broke his heart, challenged him. She forced him out of his comfort zone, leaving him questioning all his fiercely held beliefs. He loved that about her. And now, for the first time since that fateful summer at Camp Ahava, he was relying on her. Jacob offered up a silent prayer to the heavens and hoped she wouldn't let him down. I think what makes a romantic partner ultimately is A, who you are, and B, also being supportive when you want to improve yourself. Jacob scanned the long line of hopeful attendees waiting behind a blue velvet rope. These were people without tickets who had come early hoping to land an open spot. In truth, it would take a miracle for any of them to get in tonight. It wasn't just a numbers issue. Security had to be extra tight at an event like the Matzah Ball, where any psycho with a 4chan account and a penchant for anti-Semitism might show up. Their very own childhood synagogue has since October 7th, they have had to replace all of the glass in the windows with bulletproof glass, keep the doors locked. I hope to holy hell they have a security person on premises. It was always a pain to get the tiny candles into their metal holders, and to keep them in place and not create a fire hazard. Jacob had to melt the bottom of each candle. Then, while still hot, he had to press it down into the metal holder, creating a seal. It was easy enough to do with steady hands for 1 or 2 candles. 8 candles was always a challenge. On the 6th candle, he burned his fingers. I've had to do that. Sometimes they will just not stay in the menorah no matter what you do. Truth could be scary. Darkness might always endeavor to snuff out the light, but the strength of those who truly loved us would always push us forward. This was how we brightened an otherwise dark world. We filled it with truth and love and light. I think I'm just going to leave you with that one, honestly. I don't know any other way to... Your other half exists to make you better. She exists to complete something you lack, and vice versa. You challenge each other, like Havrutta, 2 blades which always sharpen each other. But that's different than love, Jacob. In some ways it's more powerful, because only your bashert, your other half, can fill up what you lack and help you fulfill your destiny. That's what a soulmate should be. They should make you better, make you want to be a better version of yourself. A few pages later. And yet, when he thought of that person, when he envisioned himself standing at the end of an aisle, a football over his head, waiting for his bashert to walk down the aisle, he only saw Rachel. Rachel, his other half, his destiny. She was the shamash, the spark of light that set him ablaze and made him better. And isn't that the point anyway? We're not the norm. We're not typical. We're Jews. So let's put Judaism on fleek. Let's celebrate in the most outrageous and fabulous way possible what makes us different. That's a lesson we could all take from. The flames illuminated the room as the music began again, lifting into a swirl of 80s pop mixed with Sephardi rap. Surrounded by people she cared about, her world and her community, Rachel's authentic self shone as bright as the 8 flames dancing upon the menorah. Always be your authentic self. Always be who you are. Always be proud to be Jewish. And that's the end of the actual book. Here are some discussion questions towards the end of the book. Number 1. Though they were both raised in the Jewish faith, Rachel and Jacob had very different upbringings. How do you think their childhoods influenced their characters as adults? Number 2. Rachel's family is Jewish, but she loves Christmas. Have you ever had an affinity for a holiday or event that your family didn't celebrate? Number 3. What did you think of Rachel's decision to hide her career from her family for most of her adult life? Would you hide something of importance from your family if you felt they wouldn't understand it? Number 4. Rachel and Mickey are best friends since forever. How did you feel about the way their friendship was depicted in the story? Do you have a friend you're as close with as they are with one another? What has that friendship meant to you in your life? Number 5. Living with chronic illness has affected Rachel's life in almost every way imaginable. What, if anything, did you learn about myalgic encephalomyelitis, aka chronic fatigue syndrome? Number 6. Rachel feels frustrated that the more commonly known term for her illness, chronic fatigue syndrome, comes with a certain amount of stigma, and people don't take it seriously. Can you think of any other conditions that are treated similarly by the general public? Number 7. Both Rachel's mother and Jacob's bubby tend to feed or overfeed their loved ones. This is considered a common way to show affection in many cultures, including the Jewish culture. What are some traditions in your culture, and how are they expressed in your family? Number 8. Though Rachel and Jacob did not personally experience it, they are both influenced by the Holocaust in subtle ways. What are some ways in which that influence manifests itself? Are there any events in your family history that continue to influence you today, even though you did not directly experience them? Number 9. Rachel quotes Midrash saying, God only works through broken vessels. What do you think Rachel means when she says this? How do Rachel and Jacob both come to accept and create meaning out of their brokenness? Number 10. On Hanukkah, Jews use a shamash, one flame that lights all the candles on their Hanukkah. What are some of the ways that the characters in the matzah ball act like a shamash, spreading light to others? Feel free to answer these questions in the comments below. That was The Matzah Ball, a novel by Jean Meltzer, and I hope you really enjoyed this video. Bye-bye! Jewish Bookshelf Tour. Hi, I'm Sammy and I'm that nerdy YouTuber, and today I'm going to be showing you guys every single Jewish book and piece of Judaica that I own. Which one is your favorite? Tell me in the comments down below.
Hey, I don't know who needs to hear this, but non-Orthodox Sephorim are still valid Sephorim and should still be treated with the proper respect accordingly.
This is such a blast from the past because at the end of this Haggadah, which is last year's Maxwell House Haggadah, it has all of these ghosts of Maxwell Haggadah's past. And I specifically remember this one, this one, this one, this one, and now this one.
Shoshanas Yaakov tzolo v'somecho Biroisom yachad chelas morgecho Shoshanas Yaakov tzolo v'somecho Biroisom yachad chelas morgecho Shuoso Hoi soloneta V'sikvoso Bechol v'gadol Boruch Mordechai HaYehudi Boruch Mordechai HaYehudi Shoshanas Yaakov tzolo v'somecho Biroisom yachad chelas morgecho Hoi shuoso Hoi soloneta v'sikvoso Bechol v'gadol Boruch Mordechai HaYehudi Boruch Mordechai HaYehudi
The truth is, the Germans knew the High Holy Days better than we did. Those most important days in all of the Jewish calendar, the period around Rosh Hashanah and then Yom Kippur, were like weapons for them, and they tried to break us further. They tried to use our holiest days to prove to us that God did not choose who would stay alive and who would die. They chose. Our fate was in their hands, not God's. That meant selections, more and more of them. I study Jewish history, and not just the Holocaust. And one thing I've noticed is that throughout Jewish history, our enemies have tried to weaponize our holy days by using them against us in some way. In this particular instance, it was the Nazis, and they did it on Yom Kippur, the most sacred day of the entire Jewish year. On October 7th, it was done by Hamas on Simchat Torah and Shabbat. I can't be the only Jewish person that notices this. What are your thoughts? Tell me in the comments below.
and today I'm going to be reviewing Magical Meet Cute by Jean Meltzer. Magical Meet Cute is a hilarious romantic story about a potter named Faye, and she experiences an unfortunate act of anti-Semitism on the eve of Sukkot at her synagogue, where she discovers that there are a new group of white supremacists in America called the Paper Boys, which are probably loosely, not so loosely, based on the Proud Boys. So she creates what she thinks is a golem. She creates a clay doll with everything she could possibly want in a guy. And the very next day, she hits a guy that looks like that and ticks every single box with her bicycle. And the thing I really liked about this story is not just how romantic it is, but also how relatable it is, because at least 2 or 3 times it mentions the massacre of October 7th. So you know this book was written really, really recently, in August of this year. I got this book from my local library, and I really, really enjoy going to libraries because, free books. Can't go wrong with free books. I also enjoyed learning about elements of Jewish magic, which the main character, Faye, actually is a Jew witch. She identifies as a Jew witch, does spells, the whole shebang. Now, I don't believe in Jewish magic myself, but it was very interesting to learn about from... In my experience, there aren't usually too many Jewish-themed romance novels out there, so the ones I do find, I grab them, obviously. And this one I definitely enjoyed because the author is very talented at storytelling. She put a lot of knowledge and thought and research into this book, clearly. And there's some really cool discussion questions at the end, and if you'd like, I can read them to you here. And now I'm going to go ahead and read the reading group discussion questions. Number 1. Faye was raised Jewish, but also considers herself a Jew witch. What did you learn about Jewish magic and folklore while reading this book? Did anything surprise you? Have you ever explored or participated in the more esoteric traditions of a faith or culture? Number 2. In Magical Meet Cute, Faye believes that she has summoned a golem. What did you know about golems before reading this book? Did anything about their history surprise you? If you were going to create a golem, what would they look like? What would you name them? What special skills and talents would they have? Number 3. In the wake of an anti-Semitic incident, Faye creates a golem for protection and support. What did you learn about anti-Semitism by reading Magical Meet Cute? Have you or someone you know ever been targeted in an anti-Semitic attack? What happened? Number 4. Greg begins reading Faye's books in order to stave off confusion and help aid his memory. Yet with each book he reads, he takes on the traits of the characters within the story and learns a valuable life lesson. Name one book that has left a lasting impression on you. Do you believe that books are capable of changing people? Why or why not? Number 5. Faye feels saddled by memory and a history of abuse. Greg is dealing with amnesia. How can memory be both an asset and a detriment? In addition to individual memory, Magical Meet Cute deals with collective memory. What sort of collective memory do the Jewish people in this book share? What are some other examples of collective memory in your own life? Number 6. At one point, Nellie says, "We Jews are a storytelling people." What do you think she means by that? How is storytelling used by cultures to transmit and maintain traditions? How is the golem tale a story that has shifted and been shaped by the teller over time? How can a story be changed or distorted by the person telling it? Give one example. Number 7. At the end of the book, Faye learns that her pottery doesn't need to be perfect to be loved and valued, and pens an article called The Art of Imperfection. How is Faye's pottery a metaphor for her own life? Have you ever loved something that was imperfect? I'd love to get your thoughts on this video, and also if you've already read Magical Meet Cute, please no spoilers in the comments. However, if you have read Magical Meet Cute and you have answers for the discussion questions, feel free to put them in the comments below. Thanks. Bye-bye. Hi everybody, I'm Sammy. I'm That Jewish Nerd, and today I'm going to be doing a Jewish library book review. The book I'm going to be reviewing today is called Jewish in America by Barbara Sheen, and it's part of the Bias in America series. I haven't read the whole series yet, but I'm probably going to. I'm going to start with the Jewish one, being Jewish myself. And I really like this book because I think it definitely encapsulated a lot of what it is to be Jewish in America, not just as an American Jew, but also there were several passages which I definitely felt resonated with me as not just an American Jew, but an American Jew who grew up going to public schools, because there wasn't really much of a Jewish community where I was growing up. I think there's more now, though. So the first passage that I'm going to read to you that resonated with me is entitled Misguided Educators and Heroes. In some cases, teachers, coaches, school administrators, and other educators mistreat Jewish students. These abuses can occur for a number of reasons and may be intentional or unintentional. In some cases, those in authority do not take anti-Semitic behavior seriously. Consequently, they may be slow to respond or may not respond appropriately. Take the 2019 case of a Jewish high school student in New Jersey who was spat on and called a, trigger warning for anti-Semitism, Jew dyke. That's what it says. By a classmate, while a group of other girls looked on and cheered. After the student reported the incident to a school administrator, all the girls, including the victim, were called into the office, but the only person who was reprimanded was the victim. She was accused of being overly sensitive, and the case was closed. Another young Jewish woman reports that while she and her older brother were growing up in Arizona, they were repeatedly bullied and harassed because they were Jews. After months of being pushed around, bombarded by anti-Semitic slurs, and having swastikas drawn on his homework assignments, her brother fought back. He was suspended from school for fighting, but his tormentors were not punished by their actions. Commenting about similar incidents, J.P. Green, a professor of education policy at the University of Arkansas, maintains, "We have trusted public schools far too much to protect us when the evidence suggests that these local governmental institutions are not reliable partners in combating anti-Semitism." I'm going to insert my own experience here and say that my first real experience with anti-Semitism, I was maybe 12, maybe 13, something like that. It was my 7th grade civics class, civics and government and U.S. history and all that other good stuff. And I heard one of the kids behind me talk to a kid that sat next to him. Kid B is, and I quote, a dirty Jew. I don't even know whether or not this kid was actually Jewish, and quite frankly, I don't care. That's not okay. That's disgusting. Here is the second portion of the book that really resonated with me. It's entitled Holiday Pressures. Other actions are less overt but still hostile. These may be attributed to insensitivity or lack of awareness of Jewish culture and traditions on the part of some educators. Although almost all school districts do not hold classes on the Christian holidays of Christmas and Good Friday, most, with the exception of a few ethnically diverse school districts, hold classes on the Jewish high holidays of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Nor do all schools make special accommodations such as giving Jewish students who observe these holidays a reasonable amount of time to make up missed assignments. In fact, it is not unusual for schools to schedule tests, picture days, mandatory team practices, and important extracurricular activities on the Jewish high holidays. For example, Rachel Hale, a Jewish high school student, reports that her school held its Big Ten college night on the night of Yom Kippur. This puts a lot of pressure on Jewish students not to miss school. As Hale writes, "Having school off on Christmas is a no-brainer, but important Jewish holidays such as Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur are barely an afterthought on school boards' minds. For some Jewish students, missing school or important holidays is nothing out of the ordinary. But for others, the stress of missing multiple classes, tests, and extracurricular activities outweighs the importance of services. Some teachers are not understanding of the holiday's religious significance and do not consider the day an excused absence. Why should students have to choose between prayer and planning for college? Why should they have to choose between going to after-school activities and attending services? School, as important as it may be, should never impose upon our right to pray and our right to a substantial Jewish faith." Way number 2, that last passage definitely resonated with me because I remember a few times in high school when I ended up having to miss a choir concert in order to attend for Jewish holidays. It was either a Jewish holiday, a major Jewish holiday, or one of the regular Friday night services. And I didn't really have much of a voice at the time, or at the very least I didn't know that I had a voice. It was more that it didn't sit right with me, and when I told my grandmother about it, God love that woman. Grandma, if you're watching, I freaking love you. She raised hell with Mr. Weberg, the choir teacher, about it. And next thing I knew, I was able to get those days off. And she shouldn't have had to fight that hard, but I'm really, really, really glad she did. I'm glad someone did. Every single Jewish kid deserves to have somebody fight for them. And it's not just schools that do stuff like this. The rental community that I currently live in frequently schedules community days and barbecues and socials and whatnot on Shabbat. And I've already tried asking them not to do so and explaining to them why, that their Jewish tenants deserve to be able to get in on those festivities as well. But so far, I haven't gotten a response, and I would be surprised if I ended up getting one at all. A lot of the time, non-Jews don't take anti-Semitism seriously at all. And I think one really definite example of that I've lived in my own life is when I was still on TikTok. I was on TikTok from about 2021 until a couple of months after October 7th. And all I gotta say is TikTok is a toxic hotbed of anti-Semitism. I remember how Jewish creators used to report that blatantly anti-Semitic shit there all the time. It would almost always come down as no violation or no harassment when the Jewish creator would release a video themselves calling out anti-Semitism. That would be the video that would get taken down for bullying and harassment. And it's complete bullshit. I don't know any other way to put it. The message I have for you is you should be proud to be Jewish. And if you're not Jewish, I would advise you to learn about Judaism from Jewish sources. Don't trust anything with Yeshua in the name because it's probably some type of messianic bullshit. I have a whole complicated set of feelings about messianics. If you want me to do a video about that, maybe I will, maybe not. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked, please leave a comment and a like and let me know what you thought.